The monster really fell, but his fall has not brought relief, but rather more violence and mystery. We are referring to Craftman, the worst extortionist in America, whose capture should have meant safety, but ended in tragedy within the dark walls of the Cecot prison in El Salvador. How this happened? Stay until the end of the video to find out. Before starting, leave your registration with the like button and subscribe to our stories. They will surely catch you. Now, activate the bell so we can begin. García Álvarez was arrested by the National Civil Police, PNC, and the Public Prosecutor's Office in residential areas in the North, Zone 17, where he lived with great comforts. Security forces carried out 13 more raids, through which they arrested 5 other alleged gang members, identified as Bridget Celan Magana, Lopez, 20, Irma Mejia Perez, Oscar, Alejandro Solares, both Edwin, 21, Lemus Hernandez, 34, and Melvin Echardo, 19, the latter of whom was arrested for possession of marijuana, cocaine, a firearm, and 9mm ammunition. All those arrested are accused of criminal association, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and extortionate obstruction of traffic. García Álvarez had sown terror in the streets, but his fate took a dark turn when he was transferred to the dreaded Cecot prison in El Salvador. There, far from the comfort of his previous residences, he found himself in a hostile and dangerous environment. Cecot prison is known for being a breeding ground for violence and corruption, controlled by rival gang factions, and with poor supervision, it is a place where disputes are resolved with extreme violence, which is extremely difficult for someone like the Craftman, who is used to imposing his will with intimidation and strength. This was dangerous territory inside the prison. García Álvarez quickly became embroiled in conflicts with other inmates. His reputation as the leader of a criminal gang made him a target for those seeking to demonstrate their power within the prison. Disputes over control of scarce resources, such as territory and influence, were commonplace in that hostile environment. Although the Craftman had lived a life of luxury and power outside the prison, within its walls he faced a very different reality. Without his usual followers and resources, he found himself vulnerable and exposed. His attempts to establish dominance within the prison only served to draw more attention and hostility toward him. The exact circumstances of the Craftman's death are still a matter of speculation. Some say he was the victim of a planned attack by other inmates, while others suggest it may have been a spontaneous confrontation that got out of hand. It is true that his death marked the end of an era of terror, but it also left a vacuum of power and violence in his home. The news of the Craftman's death inside the Cecot prison in El Salvador left his family plunged into deep grief. For them, the Craftman was more than a criminal. He was a son, a brother, a father. Despite his mistakes, they loved him and now found themselves facing an unimaginable loss. While the Craftman faced his own conflicts inside the prison, his family struggled to understand how everything had come to this point. The news hit them with devastating force, and pain and disbelief took hold of them. The news of the Craftman's death came as an unexpected blow, a tragedy they never imagined they would face. Now they found themselves facing a new reality filled with unanswered questions and a pain that seemed impossible to bear. The PNC reported that the Craftman was considered one of the most bloodthirsty from Barrio 18. Detectives revealed that García Álvarez is accused of about 5 deaths, although they acknowledge that he has committed more. Although they have only been able to document that number, one of the events attributed to him is the attack on a transurban bus unit on Los Olivos Boulevard and 11th Street in Zone 18 on October 29th. He is also presumed to be the one who orders extortion payments to tortilla shops, bakeries, stores, and urban transportation companies, as well as armed attacks against those who have refused to pay and rival gang members. This criminal gang's area of operation includes the San Rafael neighborhoods, Lomas del Norte and Maya, Zone 18, as well as San Pedro Ayampuc and Ciudad Real, Zone 12, in the capital. Authorities have information that the aforementioned criminal structure is made up of 20 people, some of whom are already in prison, in addition to the 6 arrested yesterday. Others that have not been captured. Prosecutors and investigators agreed that García Álvarez lived ostentatiously. They established that he paid 3,500 quetzales a month to rent the house where he lived. The house's stairs are made of wood and the room where he was in. The apartment is carpeted and also has audio and video equipment, 2 state-of-the-art televisions, a fully equipped kitchen, and an exercise machine, among other amenities. Neighbors of the suspect indicated that they had never seen him because he went unnoticed in his vehicle with tinted windows. They even said that he didn't even get out to open the garage door because someone else did. Prosecutors detailed that the curtains in García Álvarez's room were thick and dark, possibly to avoid contact with neighbors. It was also reported that on weekends, motorcycles would arrive at the residence, delivering women from a restaurant specializing in barbecued meat. Women would also arrive in taxis, allegedly to leave him extortion money. The gang led by García Álvarez, known as Craftman, has extended its extortion reach throughout several areas of the Guatemalan capital and its surrounding areas. Their modus operandi has been described as violent and ruthless as it is, with devastating consequences for those who resist its financial demands. Tortilla shops, bakeries, stores, and urban transportation companies have been the main targets of extortion by this gang. Although the exact number of businesses affected is unknown, it is estimated that the gang controls an extensive extortion network in the San Rafael Lomas del Norte and Maya neighborhoods, located in Zone 18 of the capital, as well as in San Pedro Ayampuc and Ciudad Real in Zone 12. Armed attacks against those who refuse to pay are a common tactic used by the gang to instill fear and ensure compliance with its demands. In the specific case of García Álvarez, the attack against a transurban bus unit on Los Olivos Boulevard and 11th Street in Zone 18 on October 29th is attributed to the gang as part of its actions to force payment. The violence associated with the gang's extortion is not limited to armed attacks. García Álvarez has been identified as responsible for at least 5 deaths, although it is believed the real number could be higher. The brutality of his actions has been evident in his own words when, during his capture, he proudly stated that he had killed several rival gang members in addition to local businesses. The gang has also extended its influence to other sectors of society. It is believed that García Álvarez orders extortion payments through intermediaries who go to businesses to collect the money. This has generated a climate of widespread fear among business owners and the general population, who feel threatened by the gang's violence and corruption. Authorities have identified at least 20 people linked to this criminal organization, some of whom are already in prison. However, the capture of García Álvarez and other members of the gang in the recent raids, this represents a significant blow to his operation, although there is still work to be done to completely dismantle this extortion network. The actions of the security forces have demonstrated that they are committed to combating this type of crime. The luxurious life that García Álvarez led contrasts with the reality of violence and terror that he imposed on those who refused to comply with his commands. He paid high rent for his residence, which included amenities such as wooden stairs, carpeted rooms, high-end audio and video equipment, modern televisions, a fully equipped kitchen, and an exercise machine. This ostentatious life was maintained with money obtained from extortion and criminal activities. Despite his discretion, neighbors noticed García Álvarez's presence in the area due to his vehicle, which had tinted windows. It is believed that he did not even get out to open the garage door, delegating this task to someone else to avoid being recognized. The thick, dark markings in his room also indicate that he sought to keep a low profile and avoid contact with neighbors. On weekends, García Álvarez's residence became a center of operations, where delivery motorcycles from a barbecue restaurant would arrive, possibly used to transport extortion money. Women would also arrive in taxis to drop off money, suggesting a well-organized and widespread fundraising network. The worst events that led to an attack on a Transurbano bus unit. The attack on a Transurbano bus unit on Los Olivos Boulevard and 11th Street to Zone 18 on October 29th is a striking example of the violence unleashed by García Álvarez's gang. These types of acts not only put the lives of passengers and drivers at risk, but also generate a climate of terror and mistrust in the community. These are isolated events, but part of a broader strategy of intimidation and territorial control by the La Violencia gang. The indiscriminate use of these types of attacks demonstrates the gang's lack of scruples and its willingness to resort to extreme methods to impose its will. Murders and violence against rival gang members are evident. The brutality of García Álvarez and his gang is evident in the murders and violence against rival gang members. García Álvarez has reportedly participated in at least 5 murders, although it is suspected that the actual number could be much higher. His words of pride when referring to his victims show the ruthless nature of his actions and his lack of remorse for taking the lives of other human beings. These murders not only affect the direct victims, but also have a devastating impact on their families and communities. Violence between rival gangs is a destructive phenomenon that has caused great suffering in many communities and is a clear example of how organized crime, can affect the lives of ordinary people. Extortion and violence against local businesses are common practices of the gang led by García Álvarez. The gang has extended its reach through a well-organized criminal network dedicated to extorting local businesses such as tortilla shops, bakeries, and stores. Business owners who refuse to pay are subject to armed attacks and other forms of violence that create a climate of fear and mistrust in the business community. This situation has had a negative impact on the local economy, as many business owners are forced to close their businesses or pay exorbitant sums of money to protect themselves and their families. Extortion and violence against local businesses are a chilling reminder of the corrupting influence of organized crime and its ability to affect people's daily lives. Of course, if you're enjoying the video, we invite you to give us a like and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. We're truly continuing with the fall of Garcia. This organization has finally come to an end. The capture of García Álvarez, known as the Craftman leader of a dangerous criminal gang in Guatemala, certainly represents a significant blow to the organization. However, determining whether this action truly marks the end of the gang is a more complex matter and requires a detailed analysis of the structure and operations of the criminal organization in question. The capture of a key leader like García Álvarez can have several effects on a criminal organization. First, it can create a power vacuum that could trigger internal struggles for control and leadership within the gang. This could result in a fragmentation of the organization, with different factions vying for control of the gang's resources and territories. In this sense, the capture of García Álvarez could weaken the organization's internal cohesion and make it more vulnerable to police and security actions. On the other hand, the capture of a leader like García Álvarez can also have a deterrent effect on other gang members and potential recruits. The arrest and eventual conviction of a prominent leader can send a clear message that the authorities are committed to combating organized crime and that there will be no impunity for those who participate in criminal activities. This could deter other gang members from continuing to engage in criminal activities and could hide the organization's ability to recruit new members. However, it is important to keep in mind that criminal organizations are often very adaptable and can quickly reorganize to face new challenges. The fall of a leader does not necessarily mean the end of the organization, as new leaders may emerge to take his place and continue the gang's operations. Criminal organizations usually have hierarchical structures and support networks that allow them to remain operational even after the capture of important leaders. In the specific case of the gang, led by García Álvarez, it is possible that the capture of the leader has temporarily weakened its operations. However, it is unlikely that it has led to the complete end of the organization. It is likely that the gang will seek to reorganize and regroup under new leadership to continue its criminal activities. It is also possible that other criminal organizations will seek to fill the void left by the fall of García Álvarez, which could lead to an increase in violence and insecurity in the region. Thus, we come to the end of this video. If you liked it, I invite you to give us a like so we can continue making more videos like this one. Also, Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. I wish you a great day. Until next time.